Welcome, everybody. My name is Dave Finale, and this is Real Estate Talk TGIF, episode 245. It's 242 weeks in a row. I had to think there for a second because there's three more than other, and my math is not really that good. It used to be, but as you get older, math doesn't work as well. But anyway, I'm here with Jesse Dow from Channel Junkies, and we're going to get into how he got started, how he did business, and Channel Junkies, where it came from, why it came from, where everything. Good morning, Jesse. Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, good morning. How's it going?
Awesome, man. Awesome. So we're going to be right back. We're going to do a quick intro, and we're going to get started with some great stuff. Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team. Okay, and here we are. Thanks again, Jesse, for coming on. Now, you've been in the business quite a while, and I also realized recently that you tried to get into business earlier than you actually did. Mm-hmm. As I go through and make sure I know a little bit more about people that are going to be on the broadcast, I learned that you wanted to get into it back in 2000, something like that.
Yeah, 2000.
And it was a little bit more than you thought. So anyway, Jesse Dow, you're in Idaho. I want to thank you again for coming. Tell me your story. Tell me about how you got from what you were doing, which is an interesting story in and of that, and then how you got to today.
Yeah. So like you said, I actually looked at getting into real estate in like 2000 and then 2008 again. Obviously that wasn't a good time to get in. And each time just like I got promoted or corporate America grabbed me. And in 2017, unfortunately, actually I spent 15 years in the brewing industry, in the, executive landscape. So I wasn't, a lot of people see the brewing industry, they think of brewers or the people at the bars. That's not what I did. It was more on the corporate side. And in 2017, unfortunately, my dad passed away from liver cancer in January. And then my ex-wife, I'm now remarried. She tried to take her own life, dealing heavily with alcoholism and addiction. And I just realized that, did I want to be in a world, in an environment that didn't align with my values? And I knew nothing much about real estate, but I knew I always had wanted to do it. So I literally quit my job on July 1st, 2017, making great money. I didn't have much of a savings, and I just went straight into real estate. I got my license. It took me about 2 weeks. This is back when getting your real estate license didn't involve hovering on a page for multiple minutes, and you could do it very quickly. So I took my test, got my license, and was well on my way into real estate. And, it was a really tough situation because like I said, I didn't have a lot of money saved up. And after, it took me 90 days to close my first transaction, and I ended up doing about 6 deals pretty quickly. But I ran out of money within like the first 30 days, and I gave myself 3 months. I had a 401k, so I took out a little loan against my 401k, and was able to generate some deals. I started out on a team at Keller Williams. And then after I closed those first 6 deals, they were all the deals that I generated. And I just realized that if I'm going to generate all my own business, and I didn't really see much of a value having the background that I did, it was a good experience to see something. But the biggest takeaway that I got off of being that team is I went to an event, which kind of changed my life. Actually, it was with one of the top team leaders in the country. And he said that if you can generate hot leads for your agents, or warm leads at least, then you can pretty much dictate the splits or have a more favorable split to the team lead. Right. And agents will be very loyal to you. I didn't know what I knew then, and I didn't know what that meant at the time.
Right.
I just knew that I needed to, that was my end goal, was creating hot leads. But then back in 2017, everyone was being told to do video. And even during I generated all my first deals off of for sale by owners and open houses. That's actually where I hung out for my first 2 years.
Right.
And I was very successful. I did 50 deals in those first 2 years. But what I was doing in the meantime was I was calling all these people that were just killing it on video. And I just asked them straight up. I just said, hey, I see you're doing all this video. Are you actually generating business from it? And not one of them could ever tell me that they were generating any deals from their social media or from their videos. So I was very fortunate in 2010. I worked for this company called Marc Anthony Brands. They own White Claw. Everyone knows White Claw now.
Right.
But they wanted to get out of the digital or the traditional media space. So no more TV, no more radio, no more billboards. And they said, we're going to get into 100% digital and social. And everyone thought they were crazy. Our clients thought they were crazy. I'm talking about calling on the headquarters of Walmart, telling them that you're getting rid of all of your marketing that they only know. They didn't know about digital marketing back then either. And they basically threatened us. They said, if you guys do this, we're going to pull you out, all these things. And I mean, we're selling $500 million a year worth of products. So this isn't small potatoes. And they hired a very strategic team to train us on digital and social marketing. I learned a lot, and our business actually doubled in 1 year. We could relay the information to the consumer or to our audience and our clients saying, hey, look, we can now target our consumers. We can now get 20-to-1 ROI and really target people way before, like when they're closer to the purchase process, not when they're sitting on their couch and then they see 5,000 other pieces of information by the time they get to your store. So it actually ended up working. But then when I got into real estate, I also knew what all these platforms were designed for. And so when I got into real estate, I was also thinking, I'm like, I'm not going to do something I don't know, but I also can't see how all of these platforms are intertwining with our clients' mental state of, their process. Yeah. And I know that if we're using digital and social marketing to target our consumers right before the point of purchase, like I was like, I need to do something that like builds a brand way before they even get to that point. So it's kind of what led me into, doing what we do now, which was a long journey and a long process, a lot of pain along those lines. And we can get more into that, but that's pretty much the journey of how I got into real estate and where I am today.
So let's talk about you. I really love to hone in on how a successful agent such as you, a successful businessman such as you, a successful entrepreneur such as you, and I put all those in because that also equals real estate professional as well, and that's what you're known for. You're also known for channel junkies, etc. But how did you mentioned it earlier, you started doing open houses for sale by owners.
Yeah.
And I asked you this the other day, and this is a question I ask everybody usually at the end of the broadcast. I'm going to start it with this broadcast. New people, especially now with the market the way it is, it's like we thought we knew where it was going, and it changed a little bit a few weeks ago. What's the best way to get a deal if you need one today? Is that how you started?
Yeah. If somebody told me right now that I only have one type of lead generation that I have to, and it's going to guarantee me results 100%. In my opinion, somebody that has a for sale sign in front of their house is the only lead out there in the world that we know is highly motivated to sell their house and do a transaction.
Oh yeah.
I don't like, I even put open house buyers below that. Like for sale by owner is the hottest lead you could ever find. And so when I was really desperate to make my money, I just thought, and I was in my own brain and I talked to the people in the office. I said, where's the hottest leads at? And every single one of them said open houses and for sale by owner. And then actually they were saying FSBO and I didn't know what that meant. So finally I asked, I said, what's FSBO mean? And they said for sale by owner. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. So I dedicated 100% of my efforts, 100%. I didn't focus on anything else. I was just doing for sale by owners and open houses. And actually the interesting story about that is you interviewed my business partner. Is one day I was doing my for sale by owners and it was on January 1st when all the new lists come out.
Right.
And I saw this 10,000 square foot mansion pop up on the expired list because I hated expireds. They're not hot leads. Some of them are, but a lot of them are not.
Right.
And so I saw this 10,000 mansion pop up and I was like, oh, I don't do expireds, but I'm just going to call this guy. And I looked at it for 3 days. And then finally I called this house and long story short, I got the listing. That's where I met Jackson. And the rest is history. But yeah, going back to the original conversation of, where I would be starting. And if somebody told me I had to get deals right now, it's 100% for sale by owner because I work with a lot of agents and I always tell them is like, you have to have now business. And then you have to also layer in the business that you want to focus on long-term and build your pipeline. And that's typically the way it works. Usually the new agents focus on the hot now business because they're just trying to get going. And then and then as time prevails and they start figuring things out, they transition into a longer, sustainable, more friendly style of doing business, I would say.
So I just want to keep on this just for a second. I want to give people a heads up. People say, okay, so how do you find for sale by owners? People are going to go to Zillow. People go here. I've had this guy on, a guy who started this site called FizBonanza.com. So for all those of you that are looking at it, this is a quick hack. FizzBonanza.com. You're going to get all the FizzBos you need where they come from everywhere. It's all culminated. That is a great place to get started. And I started there, Jesse, because as I said to you as we came on, before we came on, is, you hear these people, they want to hear what you have to say today because of what you're doing. They think that a lot of people are looking for that silver bullet, that shiny object, that thing that is going to be, voila, there it is, right? And I don't think really that's the case. I mean, you started with that way, and then you transitioned. So you did that huge listing after January 1st, and you met Jackson. Talk to me about what happened there and the trials and tribulations as Channel Junkies got started.
Yeah, and actually, the one thing I want to say is, like, my brain always operates a little differently. So instead of doing for sale by owners, I was actually using Zillow a lot. But Zillow used to have a tool called Make Me Move.
Make Me Move, right?
And so if I saw the price was like pretty close to like what I thought the house was worth, I'm like, okay, I would just call those people. I called it FISBO Lights. And this is actually where I really got good at it. So I would just call them up and I just say, hey, I see your house is marked as a Make Me Move at this price. Are you serious about selling your house? Or are you just testing the market? And believe it or not, I started noticing that 50% of the people I was calling, they're like, no, I'm serious. And I would say, cool, I'd love to come over and show you how we can get you top dollar for your house and all the things. And it was crazy. It was super successful. It wasn't like 100%, but the people that said they were serious were 100%. So anyways, I actually had a couple Make Me Moves listings at that time. And they were all Make Me Move listings. And I got that. I met the big mansion guy. And so what happened is I called the guy up and I just said, hey, I see your house is expired. I'd love to talk to you about our video and social media marketing strategies. I saw your house was on the market for 2 years. It never sold. And he was actually super nice guy. He was Norwegian. And he said, yeah, I'd love to chat with you, but I'm actually driving up the road and it's icy out. And it was icy. He said, I need to call you back. And I thought he was smoke screening me. My phone rings about 30 minutes later and it's the guy. We end up hitting it off. I go and meet him. Come to find out, it ends up being a giant, nasty divorce. I ended up meeting with 3 different attorneys. And through this process, I ended up getting the listing, but it was actually in a jurisdiction that my other title rep company didn't handle. So I had to assign title to another company. And this ended up being the title company that Jackson worked at. So one day I'm just sitting there and my phone rings and Jackson leaves this voicemail and I'm just like, whatever. I get calls from lenders. I get calls from title companies all the time. I don't want to have anything to do with these people. And my favorite line for title and lenders all the time is always, if you want to send me a deal, I'll send you a deal. And then we can both test each other and see how each other works. And then we can decide if we want to move forward doing business. And then they never called me back. So that was obviously that's never going to happen.
Right.
So anyways, Jackson kept calling. I wasn't answering. I wasn't responding. And then one day I get this video message and I just popped it up the other day in our Facebook group. It was 5 years since he sent me this video. It was a video message way before his time, a video. And it just said, hey, Jesse, this is Jackson with WFG. I just saw that you opened escrow with our company. We just had our refresh event, which I just saw WFG just did again, actually. And I would love to show you how we can market your house through Facebook and digital and social and all this stuff. And, you always think they're going to do something magical. And so I met with Jackson in person and at our office, and he was wearing cowboy boots and, just this, super nice, friendly guy. And we actually sat there and talked for 2 hours about remodeling houses. And I had a contractor's account. He just moved to Portland. He had no relationships or friends. We ended up living by each other too. And then the title officer that he rolled up to lived by us as well. And all 3 of us ended up becoming pretty good friends. And so the one thing I loved about Jackson and what I learned through that thing is, one is he was obsessed with video and I was obsessed with video. And then 2, the guy could figure out anything. Like he was building funnels for Facebook's like long form lead magnets. And then we were retargeting them. And I had ran free Facebook ads. And I kept telling Jackson, I said, dude, I know that you're in love with these Facebook ads, but in our market, they just don't convert. And I was in Portland and I know I work with multiple teams across the country now. And there's some markets that Facebook ads back then, even today, still do a lot better. And typically it's lower price point markets. Well, we were in a high price point market and he kept saying, no, we got to do these Facebook leads. I follow Travis Tom. Like he teaches me how to do all this stuff. And so I said, dude, I'll do it if you think it's going to work. And then, so we went down this path of Facebook leads. It never worked out. I was generating more free Facebook leads through my methodology that I was learning through GSD mode. And we had a lot of stuff in common. But then through the timeline that Jackson was helping me and working side by side, is he kept saying like, dude, I'll shoot the videos and edit it. And, if you want to do it, and we started kind of like doing this whole digital mayor style video content through that transition period between where I went from like for sale by owner and open house into like full on video and scaling our business. But, he kept saying like, you're the only person that shows up. Like you're the only one that shows up. And then I kept telling Jackson, I'm like, dude, you're on the wrong side. You need to get out of the title industry. Like you got to get into real estate. Like this is where the real money's at. And he ended up making the move in 2018 ish. And he couldn't sell a house to save his life. He'll tell you that to this day.
Yeah, he does.
And he saw what I was doing. And so he always says like, we always talk about like, you don't have to be the real estate professional. You just have to have people that like relate to you, and then a way to get them to call you. So he's generated hundreds of deals for us. And yet he's never, he's sold 2 houses, and I'm the one that handled both of those transactions. And so he has 2 deals under his name, but yeah.
So, I was thinking about something. You're talking about Jackson and how good he is at the video. Now, a couple of things, few things. Number one, Travis was on a broadcast a few weeks ago. He's on it before. Travis, Tom, and everybody you've mentioned so far has been on this broadcast. Which is
really cool. I believe it.
But the thing about one thing I said, remember Jackson said, was that he actually started doing all these videos, these area videos. And I think he said when he got to Texas, he started doing area, and he didn't know much about the town at all, but he just started doing videos. And the guy that was the top agent in that town got really pissed because she said, everything you're saying is wrong, but you're kicking my ass. Right. And I mean, that's like, proof of the pudding of what video can do for you,
Yep, exactly. So the way that, if you want to transition to talking about video, the way that we look at it now, and trust me, we spent a lot of time, because what we hear all the time is we see these agents doing video, and then they're massive producers. So there's a lot of big time people in the industry that put a lot of people on the stages, and it makes that is what people think that's the way that they're generating their business. This is why I used to call agents up. I just say, hey, is this the way you're generating your business? And they'd say, no, it's not. It's not. But this is they're selling something incremental, because I don't know why our industry is led down this path of telling everyone that they need to be a coach. They need to sell something, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And if you even ask these people, like, why do you sell it? And they say, because people ask for it. Right. And then I don't promise it generates results. They're coming up to their own conclusions on that. So anyways, we went down this path too of like doing the whole digital mayor style, listening to Gary Vee. We were actually on Gary Vee's show and talking about digital mayor style business. And, Gary Vee just told us, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. So we were going around talking about restaurants, bars, the shit that no one in real, like buying and selling real estate, even care about.
Right.
But what happened was Karen Carr, she's like the real OG of YouTube.
Yep.
We interviewed her one time on we used to have the Digital Mayor podcast. So we interviewed her, anyone that dominated in social media. And one thing that Jackson and I learned through that call, and after we met with her, because she was using keywords everywhere, a whole different style than what we do. And the one thing that we noticed is Jackson and I were like saying is like, none of her real estate related videos are the ones that kill it. So what Jackson and I started doing is we just started saying like, let's put ourselves in the shoes of the consumer and think about what we would be searching for on YouTube using the YouTube search engine tool. Back then it was called Morning Fame. Now we use TubeBuddy.
Right.
And what we started realizing is say like living in Portland, Oregon was searched 30,000 times on Google, but on YouTube it was being searched 300,000 times. So like all of a sudden we start having these like premonitions of like, what are people actually searching for when they're looking to make a move, like way beyond searching for an open house or a 3-bed, 2-bath home. And I'll just be real for a second, is like, there isn't no one on this planet searching for Jesse Dow real estate or on YouTube. No one is searching for a 3-bed, 2-bath home. However, we all put these open house videos and these listing videos on YouTube thinking we're going to have all this, all these results and deals coming in. But the reality is you're not giving the people what they're looking for. You're giving them what you want to look good for yourself. And, other agents might like that. And it's great for maybe referral business if somebody's searching around. But the reality is if you want to generate real high quality leads, like I think about the buying funnel all the time. And the buying funnel is like a 5-step process. So one is like they have a problem and they need to solve that problem recognition. And then 2, they start going and do their research. So it's like, where are they starting? And we had this conversation before, is my personal opinion. This isn't anywhere in the books, but dealing with social media marketing now for 13 years, I think I have a good idea, is that, the two overarching buckets of social media is entertainment and informational. So, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Shorts, they're all built for entertainment. Like Facebook was built for connection. Instagram was built to share pictures with your connections. TikTok was built for short form entertainment. And then YouTube is a search engine for video. Google is a search engine, and Google owns YouTube. So those are very high level or very top of funnel platforms, in my opinion. And so that's where the consumers are starting. They're typically starting their search. And actually, it's even came out now, it's proven statistics that 51% of home buyers now say that YouTube is their primary tool that they start with and what they use it through. So it's just something that we figured out a long time ago. And when we started making videos of what people are actually looking for, we started seeing great results for views. However, this is my favorite line is we sell homes, not views and subscribers, because what happens is a lot of agents thinks that views is what transitions into sales, and that's not the case. So a lot of people will buy views or buy subscribers. And what happens is they're buying them from some company that's getting them from overseas, or they're bots. So YouTube thinks that's their viewer base. So they start feeding those channels and those videos to more consumers overseas. So I own an agency now, and I get hundreds of agents that call us and they're like, my channel is 100% of my views are coming from not my markets. And I'm like, well, did you share your videos? Did you buy subscribers? Did you buy views? And they're like, yeah. We're like, all right, cool. You got to start over. Like this put you in the penalty box essentially. So we started getting a lot of views and subscribers organically, and we still weren't getting any calls. And during that transition, actually, when Jackson when Jackson wasn't selling real estate, I said, dude, because he said, I'm going to quit and go back into doing something to make money. And I said, well, why don't you just become my assistant? And you can also focus 100% on YouTube. And when YouTube takes over my business, and this is before we ever sold a house, I just had this, I was dead set on making YouTube work. I said, when YouTube takes over my business, we'll split everything 50-50. And so that took us about 6 months from that point forward. And what happened is during that time, a lender hit me up, and he was big on video too in our market. And he said, dude, I love what you guys are doing. I'd love to see how I can add value to your business. And I didn't know this. And so I met him in person. And then at that meeting, he's like, all right, I got to run my next meeting. I'm like, oh, who are you going to meet? And he's like, oh, I'm going to meet this guy named Jackson. And Jackson was my assistant at that time. I said, dude, that's my assistant. Like, so he was actually trying to build relationships with people doing video too. So he said that, he goes, well, why don't I just edit your guys' videos as long as you send me your deals from the deals that come in through YouTube.
Right.
All right, cool. So that works. We'll agree on that. So we started editing our videos. And after about 6 months, we met with him and his boss. And his boss is like, dude, your guys' videos are amazing. I've never seen anything like it. However, you guys get any deals? And he already knew the answer. And the answer was no. And he said, he goes, well, I'm going to tell you guys why. And we actually have the video. We video recorded this meeting because we thought we were going in there for something completely different. And he said, you guys are not telling people to call you, and you guys have to tell people what to do. And he goes, and you can't do it at the end. He said, you have to do it right at the front, because most people don't watch. Like, we can see now through our analytics that most people start falling off, especially a big bunch of them fall off in the first 30 seconds of the video. More than 50, typically it's about 50% fall off in the first 30. So we hit it with that call to action up front, which now the industry, a lot of people have ripped off our program. They claim that they're the trainers. They've all came through our programs. But typically we do a hook, call to action, video outro. So once we hit that hook or that call to action, like that day that we dropped that video with our call to action right up front, we had over 40 people reach out to us. Inbound, no lead maggots, no squeeze pages, no nothing. Hard, hot callers ringing us. And they're like, we've been watching you guys forever. Like, we didn't know you guys were real estate agents. We'd love to work with you. We're moving to Portland. That's where we started this. And so Jackson always says we had 17 calls, but that was 17 buyers that we put into contract, because we did get a lot of rental leads too. And so Jackson took all those calls at that time, and we didn't know anything about Zoom back then, or we weren't using Zoom, but we were losing a lot of deals too during that transition into figuring out what we figured out. Yeah. And so I kept telling Jackson is dude, you got to get these people on Zoom. And people thought we were giving them a computer virus when we were telling them that they need to meet us on Zoom, because we were trying to build a relationship, because a lot of people would call and they'd get all the information and disappear. And so I told Jackson, we need to get these people on Zoom. 25% of them would show up. 75% thought we were giving them a computer virus. But I'll tell you what, COVID was the greatest thing that ever happened to us, because Zoom became a household thing. And also it meant that we didn't have to get in the cars with them when they'd show up and look for a tour. Because a lot of people are like, well, do you guys get a lot of people that just want to do home tours and tour the areas? And we figured out a solution for that. Now we build people self-guided tours. So once we started doing the whole Zoom thing, it started building real relationships, We started closing a lot of deals. And then we were at a brokerage that just did not align with our vision. And it was a lot of like turbulation with that.
Right.
They were also pressing us to open a franchise. And this was in late 2019. And I just brought on my first buyer's agent. And what happened was, I told Jackson, I'm like, dude, we have to get to a brokerage because we started getting a lot of calls too from agents because we started blowing up in the industry. And a lot of agents kept calling saying like, I want to work with you guys. I want to work with you guys. And our brokerage was like, you cannot work with another agent unless they work for our franchise, and not even like coach them or anything. And I thought that was crazy. So crazy. I started telling Jackson, I'm like, dude, we need to start interviewing brokerages to like find one nationally that we can like work with and that aligns with our vision, because the company that we're at had a national sales conference and they just interviewed us like to do a teaching to the whole company. And then, I was trying to promote our brand and I said, hey, I'd love to come speak at the national sales conference. And they just said, YouTube's a flash in the pan. It'll never be sustainable. We don't want you there. Okay, cool. I can see that we don't align. So I started interviewing brokerages and I was still super new into real estate. And so I didn't realize, I remember going to my meeting with Remax. And I left the Remax meeting and I was super frustrated because every single now I know franchise kept telling me the same thing. Like we have this expansion model, if you're with different offices, if the market center owner isn't on board with the expansion model, you're going to have to pay full cap. And I'm licensed in multiple states. It was fucking crazy. So I'm just like, I remember just thinking to myself, and I was like in the parking lot and I'm like, I just got on Google and I just typed in like, what is a national brokerage that's non-franchised, and EXP popped up. And I'd already been called and recruited by so many EXP agents. And it was, none of them ever really talked to me about what the benefits were. But my coach had moved to EXP and he kept telling me for the last year, he's like, dude, this brand was built for you guys. Like, right. You guys can expand really quick. It solves all your pain points. I know what your problems are, all the things. And so I called him on the phone. I said, dude, I'm finally ready to take a look at EXP. So I got on the call with him and the director of leadership or growth at that time, Sam Rodriguez. I spent 2 hours. I was super impressed. I was extremely blown away. And I was only thinking at that time expansion with my real estate team. And so we ended up making the move over to EXP on March 1st, 2020, which was right before the pandemic.
And then shit hit the fan.
And I was from ground zero, dude, Portland, Oregon. And that's when the riots hit, exactly. And then shit hit the fan. And after 30 days, actually somebody called us to buy one of our channels. And when we spoke with the attorneys, they said, if you guys can prove that you guys don't have to work with the clients or answer the calls, your guys' brand will be worth way more. So we had just hired our buyer's agent with zero experience in October, like 5 months before this date. And I told her, I said, hey, you're going to start answering these calls and working with the clients. And that allowed me, it worked. And people they just say, oh, where's Jesse? Where's Jackson? She'd say, they're out shooting videos. They're the ones that bring on the clients. And I stepped out of production. Jackson wasn't doing production. And that year, our business went from 12 million in 2019 to 50 million in 2020, super quick. And then we did almost 100 million the last 2 years. So we expanded out into 11 markets. And what we realized too through that, and I was talking to you before this, is I own the team in Portland 100%, but I realized that people love these leads because they're all hot inbound leads. So what I did is I just went to other market or team leaders and I said, hey, look, I have this great lead source. I'd love to give you a test drive, close 3 deals, see if you like it. And if you do, you need to move your team over to EXP and we'll split these deals 50-50 or whatever our split is.
Right.
And so these teams would like work on a couple of these deals and they were like, holy shit. They're like, I've never seen a client like this in my life. And I'll tell you what, fast forward to today, and a lot of our teams are telling us to this day that 90% of their business is coming in from our channels, and they're still sustaining through this shift in the market, which is freaking amazing to me. And I get DMs and text messages every day from agents telling me like, I'm so glad I followed your guys' program from the beginning because 100% of my business is from YouTube. And it means a lot to me because we have about 20,000 agents that follow us. Probably 1% actually do the work. So I'm super grateful that there's people out there whose lives have been impacted by what we've been able to go through, because my whole premise too is like, I never endorse anything unless I know it works. Like I see a lot of stuff out there. I've tried a lot of things. And so when we were able to figure out the YouTube thing, not only did we build the channel in one state, but then we went to another market, Seattle, and got our asses kicked, never closed a deal, shut it down, went to another market, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and it freaking blew up in like a week. So then now we've been able to see small market, medium market, large market. We know how they all integrate together. We know what the results are going to be really quickly based on your market, where you're at, and what's going on. So I know there was a lot there, and you probably have questions, but I just start rolling.
Well, I'm gonna go back to when you started talking about 40 minutes ago. No, I'm just kidding. That was awesome, man. I want to talk about video in and of itself, and Facebook and YouTube, which are the two places we talked about, where you said a lot of places still to this day still do very well with Facebook ads, et cetera, et cetera. And I just want to just give you my little thing about what I talked about the other day, was that I want people to understand that the reason that sometimes Facebook might not work is that there's not anyone I know of, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, that wakes up in the morning on a Saturday and says, I'm going to Facebook to find a home. I'm going to Facebook to learn about real estate, or where I want to live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, or wherever it is. No one's doing that. However, people are going to Google, they are going to YouTube to find out what I need to know about Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, or what I should know about Savannah, Georgia. Karen Carr reference, right?
Yep.
But they are doing it. And here's the difference, folks. The difference is that Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever, they're non-directional. Mm-hmm. They're absolutely non-directional, because no one's going there. They see it, now they get interest, and now you got to be good enough with your follow-up and your remarketing and your retargeting and all that shit to be able to bring them over to have a conversation to sell. Now, people are very successful at doing it. Believe me, I know firsthand. I had a brokerage and I did really, really well with Facebook ads, and still do. But the thing about YouTube is it's directional. People are going there for the information. And as you said, and you hit really something really, really cool and really, really important. Your open house intro videos and your live broadcast that you're going to do and put on YouTube are not bringing you the customers, right? It's great information, but again, it's kind of non-directional. Would you agree with that, Jesse?
Oh, correct. Yep.
You know, so basically what we're talking about is actually building a system and a process where people are going to come and they're going to find you by what you're saying and how you're doing it, and the empathetic way that you're doing it at. Now, to go way back to our original, how we started this conversation of when you were doing for sale by owners and doing open houses, it's kind of like the same way. And I heard one of the things you said recently about why you were successful for sale by owners is because, and why the modern agent team and the framework that we use here in Northern New Jersey works, is because we go with an empathetic approach to what we're doing, not a contrarian approach.
150%.
Right? And it's the same thing, really, if you look at it, what you're doing with Channel Junkies on YouTube and building that mayor, be the mayor, right?
Yep, digital mayor.
It makes an awful lot of sense. So, and one of the things we both see is we see a lot of agents, a lot of teams, a lot of brokerages think they get it. And this is not meant to insult anybody, but it's a lot of people that see the silver bullet, see the shiny object, and say, I got it. And then what happens is, when they say they got it, they forget to follow the directions, right? And it turns into, I'm sorry, but it all turns into ego. Jesse, what have you seen in the development of you and Jackson coming together and building what you've built to a crescendo, and you're going to keep going? What have you seen, why it doesn't work?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. And I actually had a call 2 weeks ago. Actually, it was probably 6 weeks ago now, to be correct. And I had met this guy in a group, and he's like, "Hey, actually, I met him I re-saw him in a group event a couple of weeks ago, probably 7 weeks ago. We had a meeting in 6 weeks ago, but I met him like a year ago, where I was a guest speaker at this event."
Right.
And then when I saw him again, he said, "Dude, I've been following your program, but I haven't gotten any results." So I said, "That's really interesting. I'd love to see your channel." I said, "Schedule a call with me," because I just love hearing that stuff and I want to know what's going on.
Right.
So I go to his channel, and lo and behold, it's packed in there with real estate content. It's like escrow process, interviews with his lender, all these things. And I just said, "You said that you were following our process. However, you're doing all the videos that we say not to do. Like, talk to me about that." And he said, "Well, well, I don't want to build two different channels. I want to have one for my clients and I want to have one for generating leads. And I said, that's like if you're watching TV and you see the news pop up and then you see MASH show up and they're integrating the channels together, the two programs, you're going to lose your audience really quickly. And you're not going to lose 50% of your audience because you're thinking that one piece of the audience is going to stay there. That's not the case. Both of your audiences are going to leave. So you need to have a separate channel for each specific topic. So, and this can get really, really deep. So that's like one of the first things that I see is people integrate all their content right now. And what I mean by that is they'll have like real estate related content, which is good for people that are in the fourth phase of the buying funnel. And when I say buying funnel, it's more of a transaction funnel because for sale by owners have their own funnel. And like I said, there's step one is always problem recognition. For sale by owners, the problem is they have all these agents telling them they have buyers and then they don't bring an offer and they start feeling pain. I called it the pain cycle when I was really big into FSBO. I also use the empathy approach too, and that's hands down the best in my opinion. So anyways, going back to what people's mistakes are, is one is they're putting all their content on one platform in one channel. The second biggest mistake now, and these are all of this equally is impactful when mistakes happen, is they share their channel with all their friends, their family, and they ask them to subscribe. And the problem with that is all of your friends and family want to do good by you. So they're going to go in there, they're going to subscribe. And a lot of other coaches coach this is you're building the algorithm for false information. So when you ask your friends and family to subscribe, that's not the clientele that you want. But this is the mistake that happens is YouTube rewards you for longer average view durations and click-through rates on your videos. Mr. Beast talks about this all the time. And he says, all you need is high click-through rates and long average view durations and you'll be set. So here's the thing. Your friends, family, mom, dad, sister, brother, they go on there, they watch 10 seconds of your video. They don't care about it. They click off of that and they never come back. And they subscribe. So you just told YouTube that your video content sucks so bad that somebody only watches 10 seconds. And secondly, they never come back and watch it again. So then people are like, well, what if my family stayed on, watched the whole video? Well, then what YouTube's going to do is going to go out and find an audience that's exactly like that person watching it. So you're actually feeding it false information. So what we always suggest is you have to create content that YouTube wants and the audience wants for your avatar. So if your avatar is, I personally love relocation clients. Like that's what we've built and focused on primarily because they're typically very great credit. They typically have great budgets and they typically have a house to sell. And when they relocate, they typically relocate again every 2 years. So we're getting so many deals, like sometimes 4 deals on one client at one time, which is crazy. So there's a lot of value in relocation. And people will say too, is like, YouTube's only for relocation. No, that's not true. We focus on relocation. YouTube, we have a lot of agents that do a lot of other things. It just depends how you build the platform. I think we have a lot better results because we focus on relocation because no one's ever proved me otherwise. I always say that just show me it works and I'll believe it. So sharing it is another one. A big one that's happening right now why people aren't having success is because they're integrating shorts into their long form content. And we always test things. We have an agency. So what we started doing, and even this is from YouTube itself. This is not from Jesse Dow. The guy that created the algorithm at YouTube said with Mr. Beast at VidFest, he said that YouTube did not create YouTube with a short form algorithm in mind. So they've had to integrate this new short form platform into YouTube. And yes, they separate out the analytics now, which is great. But what they've said is that if somebody discovers your content from short form video, they will never be shown your long form. And that's where people are at the top of the funnel with long form. They're out seeking out information. Shorts are entertaining. So they'll never be shown your long form content. And two, if somebody sees 200 shorts now, they will also not be recommended long form content anymore. So we are creating our own problem. YouTube Shorts was created to combat TikTok because they were losing viewership because TikTok was a whole nother thing. Now TikTok is trying to be YouTube. Now YouTube is trying to create something to compete with TikTok. And YouTube did take over TikTok with viewership now with the Shorts versus the TikTok. But the reality is there's still this massive audience inside of YouTube long form, which is 2 billion users a month. 1/3 of the world population is on YouTube long form a month. That is a crazy amount of people that are dying for this information. So you see Joe Rogan, Mr. Beast, Valuetainment, Patrick Bet-David, all of them, they create a separate channel for their shorts. They're not just doing it for fun. They're doing it because it serves a purpose. So people ask me all the time, Should I be doing shorts? The answer is, if you want to do shorts, do it. I haven't seen anybody generate business off of it. It's good for brand building and it's great for recognition.
Right.
But put it on a separate channel. So you also have to have content that people want. So you have to do some search engine optimization. And the easiest way to find videos that people are searching for is just go into the YouTube search tool, the search tab, and you just type in your city, Portland, Oregon, and you can see what most people are searching.
Right.
But if you want to take it a step further, start putting yourselves in the shoes of the consumer when they're at the way top of the buying funnel. And here's the thing is 95% of our audience doesn't even care about real estate. 5% do. So your goal is to be hanging out right when they go from that non-consideration phase into the consideration. And where are they all starting? You have already said it. They're all starting on Google and YouTube.
That's right.
YouTube is more powerful because it's video. So now what happens is John and Sally are sitting in their bed and they're like, oh, they live in Portland. They're thinking about moving to, maybe Seattle, maybe Boise, Idaho. And they're like, we don't want to drive over there. So what do? They start typing onto YouTube to see what it looks like to live there. And then they start building a relationship with Jesse because he has a channel there. And then they decide to make a move. So who are they going to call? They're going to call Jesse because they've built their relationship with me. And I'll tell you what, these people call and it's like they're talking to a celebrity. And when Jackson and I were first starting this whole thing, we didn't even know what the consumers looked like because we weren't meeting them on Zoom at this point in time. That was a big game changer.
Right.
Jackson would be like, how do I know it's them? I said, trust me, when you show up, they're going to freak out. And every time we'd go meet these people in person in a coffee shop, oh yeah, we knew exactly who they were because they were screaming and yelling, oh my gosh, it's Jesse, it's Jackson,
Yeah, and that's really the power of video in and of itself too, right? So for me, I've been doing video for about 15 years, and I'm always doing something with it, no matter what it is, right? And finally a light bulb went off in my head with the CTA in the beginning, right? But I do something every day. I wish people happy birthday on my Facebook page and stuff. And I will go to an event and people will always come up to me and either thank me or talk to me about my content and stuff. But that's the power of video. When you take that and you put it together with pointed information about an area that people are interested in moving to, that's where the big game changer is, right? And, it's just, I reference being a broker owner before, and I want to just go back to that again, is a lot of times what happens, and I'm going to give an example of why they need to follow you guys and go into your program is this. It's simple. So figure an agent that wants to send out a postcard, and they do their postcard, and it's a glam picture, or maybe it's a picture from 20 years ago, as we see all the time, right? They got their prom picture, and they're 50 years old. Anyway, I digress because I think that's funny. But they look at this postcard and say, oh, isn't this a great postcard? And they send it in. Number one, they don't follow up on it. And number two, it sucks. Nothing happens. Here's why. Because they're looking at it through their eyes. They're not looking at it through the consumer eyes. And the thing that has been constant in what you have said today, Jesse, and in your program is you've got to look at it from the consumer standpoint, from the consumer point of view. And when you send out that postcard that doesn't really give two shits about the consumer, just about how good you look and how good you're important, nobody really cares, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's what it's about caring. And we use the word empathy a couple of times. That's really what it's all about. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. So there's a famous saying that I learned back at the Boston Beer Company. The owner is a brilliant guy, built his own sales training program, but he used the acronym called LAER. It's LAER. It's listen, acknowledge, empathize, and restate. And that's what I used in the FSBO world. And that's what worked really well for me. But what happened early on in our video journey is Jackson was relocated from Coeur d'Alene. He knew nobody. He just got his real estate license and he tried to be the professional. This is what everyone always says is like, fake it till you make it. That's crazy. So one day Jackson's just like, dude, I'm just going to tell my story. So he gets on YouTube. He's like, I relocated here from Coeur d'Alene. I know nobody. I didn't know that, it was really tough to find childcare. I didn't know about movers, all these things. These are all hurdles I encountered when I relocated to Portland, Oregon. I had to build a new community because all of my friends are real estate agents. Obviously you can't build a real estate business if all of your friends are real estate agents. It's hard to ask them for referrals, but so he told the story on YouTube, and guess what happened? Everyone started calling us saying like, oh my gosh, that's me. I'm in that situation. And so you really have to, know who your avatar is and then have a relation and have empathy towards what they're going through.
Right.
And when you talked about the cards, I just saw this thing, the guy from Send Out Cards was being interviewed, and he said that 89% of agents that bought a card last year, a postcard, did one batch. And he said that his most successful agent, there's 2 agents that spend more than $3,000 a month, and they're the ones that have the best results. Obviously, he's trying to increase his sales, but he was just showing the performance of who gets the results. And everything that we talk about, it's always consistency. I believe that you can build a business doing anything in real estate. That's why I always tell agents, figure out what type of lead gen you like to do, and then go all in on that, because that's where you can generate your business. So if you love for sale by owners, you could build a career off of that. It wouldn't be fun. And if they shut down cold calling, then obviously you're going to be up a creek, right? But I like to find the easiest way of doing it. And I love people calling me, and I love taking like all the hardships out of that. It just creates a really, really nice business. And it actually like feeds your ego a little bit too, right? We all like to feed our ego,
Right.
But it's also we've had some markets where we get calls immediately. And then, like I said, this is doing 11 markets. We know how they're all going to respond typically. Not like saying I'm going to get, people say like, how many views equals a deal? How all this stuff. There's no matrix out there for that.
No. It's not like making calls where you know how many dials you have to make to get contacts and how many people you have to talk to. It's not like that.
Exactly. And some people, it's so funny to me too, because they'll say like, oh, there's already 3 people doing YouTube in my market. I'm like, no shit. Out of the 10,000 agents that are also cold calling and holding open houses and door knocking, and you're worried about the 3 on YouTube, like they've got the market cornered. Trust me, I would love to have market share. That would be my ultimate dream, is to actually have like physical market share. Look at Redfin. They spend $1 billion on advertising and they don't even have like market share.
Right.
Sell discounted listings. That's how tough it is to get market share. So when you look at YouTube, and if you know that 51% of the audience that's in that 5% buying bucket are looking there, realistically, we could have 100 times more agents doing YouTube before the market is actually saturated. It's just, you have to be doing it right. You have to be consistent and know and have expectations. And when I was talking about the structure earlier, like the hook, the call to action, the video, the outro, YouTube is changed up since when we first started doing it. So we've had to really hone our skills with the way that we're doing YouTube videos. So the way we used to do it is we'd be like, in this video, we're going to be talking to you about the 5 pros and cons of living in Portland, Oregon. So stay tuned. And then we'd go into our call to action. Now you have to really dive into what you're teaching. And this is what Mr. B says now too. He's like, dude, you just have to get right into it. And then you have to integrate your call to action into the video, because people's attention span have been destroyed because of TikTok. So as soon as they see a change in the video, or they start getting bored for 2 seconds and it's all about you, not about them now, guess what? They're bouncing on to the next thing. So I see another big mistake is always that these agents start out just 100% talking about themselves. I'm the number 1 agent in the market. You need to call me. If you know anyone moving to Portland, you have to call me. I'm the number 1 agent. Everything looks like them. It's like, let these people build a relationship with you and integrate your call to action in there peacefully, show the value, and I promise you they will reach out.
And here's the other thing too. If you are the number 1 agent, they're going to find out because they're curious enough about you, because you made an impression on them. They're going to find out how good you really are and want that. If you did all your work on social everywhere else, because it's not just one channel. Would you agree with that? Oh
yeah. And the funniest part is like when the calls first started coming in, like I was prospecting them like a call sign. Like they say, called me off my sign. So I'm like, oh, are you looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath home? Or what's your, all these things. And they're freaking out on the phone. And I'm like, this is such a weird situation. So like, I always have to let agents know when we're in training. I say, look, these people are going to call you. If you miss the call, don't worry. They're probably going to find you on Facebook and Instagram and DM you. Which also leads me into another thing is like when you're doing video, we hear all these people saying repurpose your content now. But I'll tell you what is when people find you on YouTube, they're going to Instagram to see the Instagram version of me. They're going to the TikTok to see the TikTok version of me. They're going to LinkedIn to see the LinkedIn version of me. So when a lot of people will take the same piece of video and put it on every platform and think it's going to work the same, this is why big influencers, can't get their content popping on every single platform. Mr. Beast is like the only one because he follows a strategy that works on every platform. So even if you were to take a long form video, you could take little clips out of it, but I wouldn't say post it all at the same time. I would post it in very strategic fashion.
So one of the things that I do with this content, like we've got, we'll have 40 to 50 minutes or so of content here. So what I will do with this video is I will take a piece of you and I talking and put it vertical and
hot takes.
put it out there on Instagram. I will also have I will also take just me talking and a little bit of what I talked about in 30 seconds and use that as separate content. So as far as Gary, we've talked about Gary Vee a lot, right? So Gary Vee talks about that as pillar content, right? And what you're saying is, and I'm glad you said this, because a lot of people, I've said this for a long time, and I started doubting myself a little bit until just now. You cannot use the same thing everywhere at the same time. You've got to change it up a little bit. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah. And this is the thing though, is like, it also depends like what your strategy and goal is. And like, what are you like, if you're talking about a podcast, that's a lot different than a real estate client. The problem that we have is these people that specialize in, say, creating podcasts, and then they start teaching it to real estate agents, and then real estate agents thinks that's the way they need to attract real estate business. When you're, say, like a podcast person that's trying to get real estate agents as client, is a lot different than a real estate agent trying to get buyers and sellers as clients.
100%.
So that's what I was also talking about. The buying funnel is like, your buying funnel is going to look different for a FSBO than it is for a buyer relocating, as it is for a buyer that's your sphere. Like, they all have different problems. So you can't approach every single person the exact same way. And that's what we see a lot of this in real estate, and it gets really, really diluted down.
Yeah, 100% right. And that's why the message needs to be different too. And that's why
100%.
this will work. Your process will work for any real business, right? If you think about it, you know.
I literally, before this call, I had a guy, my dog trainer was asking me, he's like, do you think YouTube would work for what I do? So I just typed in Boise dog training, and I went to Google, because that's where they get a lot of Google people are searching Google for dog training. And I literally clicked on the video tab, and all the videos, there was one from 2022 and the rest from 2019. And I know instantly he would rank Google page 1 with 20. If he did 20 videos, he would dominate YouTube and dominate Google for Boise.
Okay. So I want to give you a proposal here, right? On an idea. You tell me what you think. So there's an agent out there that loves dogs, right? So they go in and they start doing their videos with dogs, or they start doing a video, as you know, on YouTube, as the dog realtor, or the realtor that loves dogs. Would that promote well across channels, in a group on Facebook, in a separate account on Instagram, etc.? Would that, I know I've been very, very vague with that, but that's a thought process. Does that make sense to you, that could work as far as a niche?
I think if you're building a brand, I think your brand should be, I call it a ubiquitous brand. So everywhere, essentially, is what ubiquity means. Like, I think it should look the same everywhere.
Yes.
So if you're like the Boise dog realtor, the Portland dog realtor, yeah, I think it should be this, like, you should be integrating that person. At one of the EXP events, they had John Sheplack there, and he was talking about the 200, Fortune 200 companies that wanted to increase their brand relevancy. So they interviewed their audience base. They found out, one of them found out that 33% of their audiences had dogs, or whatever the number was. And then they switched all their marketing to include dogs, and they saw a huge lift. Right. So as if you know, all of your audience is about dogs, or, you know, I know my audience in Portland is a lot different than my audience in Boise. So in Portland, it's either people that love hiking, or they love dog stuff, or they love breweries and wine. So there's like our 3 core topics of like what we would focus on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's just how it goes. I mean, what people are looking for and how they're going to relate to you. So, all right,
kids and dogs is people love that stuff.
Well, you know, and here in our area, I got to be honest with you, I think the biggest challenge and the biggest competition on social and YouTube is babies and booties. I'm sorry, that's what it is, right? That's just what it is in the New York metropolitan area. And people probably say, well, Dave, that's stupid. And okay, I don't care. But anyway.
Oh, even in Boise, there's a former newscaster that's a real estate agent. And if you go to Boise Real Estate, you'll see it. She's literally standing on her YouTube channel. Her thumbnails is her in a bikini.
Exactly. That's what I just said. Isn't it what I just said? Anyway.
But I'll tell you who's calling her. It's people looking for OnlyFans memberships.
Exactly. So, hey, man, this has been really great. There's so much more I'd love to go into. I mean, you know, you talked about building a business. It's got to be done. Look, Channel Junkies is not an overnight success. Is that correct?
Oh, no, definitely not. It takes, you know, like I said, we've had some people with instant success, you know, in less than 30 days. We've had channels that have generated $10 million in sales in less than 6 months. But we've also had channels that didn't generate a hot closing in 12 months, you know?
What do you think the issue would be there, Jesse?
Oh, I know 100% what it is. It's the markets that are very big. So we've seen the longest, the channels that take the longest are the bigger markets. So like Seattle took us a long time. We know the people in Denver took a while, big metros, unless they're just super hot relocation, because that's what we focus on. So like all the Texas markets, with the exclusion of Austin's a little bit slower, but like Dallas, Houston, those markets are extremely hot. Like I said, for what we focus on, we know that the ones that are anything in Florida is freaking crazy. The eastern side is a little bit slower than the western side just because of the affordability.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so if you were like coming to me saying like we still have not seen, well, we've seen one person super successful in LA, and one person super successful in San Francisco, and we know why that is. Because they were very niched into a specific target audience of people buying real estate in those markets. So they knew who their avatar was. So a lot of people are leaving California. So it's, it's in New York City. We haven't seen anyone successful in New York City either. So that's what I would say is, the smaller markets for us are what like our bread and butter is actually. Like we love little big cities.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you in 6 months, we're going to work together, and I'm going to show you how to be successful in the New York metropolitan area. How about that?
Oh, I believe someone could do it. This is what happens in these bigger markets, which I call hustler markets, is these people have 6 jobs, they have 6 professional licenses, and they're just doing like the postcard thing where they send one thing and see if it works. If it doesn't, they're on to the next. This is like LA to a T. Everyone is 9 entrepreneurs and they can't focus on one thing.
Right. Hey man, this has been fantastic. I mean, I really could go on for hours. And I want to thank you so much for coming on. And we've got your contact information up. If there was one thing where you could tell somebody, whether a new agent or experienced agent that wants to grow their real estate business, what would you tell them?
I would say that I think aspirations. My performance coach says this to me all the time. He's like, aspirations can be a form of avoidance. So it's like the consistent learner, or the person that goes to every event but never takes action so it's really identifying the way you want to generate business, because we can only really focus on 2 really hardcore forms of lead generation. So that would be my first piece of advice. But my second piece of advice, and this is what I'm leaving with everyone now, is that 89% of consumers said they would reuse their agent again. 87% of agents say they have no follow-up process, and only 12% of the consumers do. So I think everyone needs to have a post-closing system in place, whether it's HomeBot. I make no money from them. I'm not sponsored. Right. HomeBot, I think, is the easiest form of doing that, but also sending them a mailer. Past clients are the easiest form of business, but 87% of agents don't do anything with them that have closed the deal, which I think is absolutely insane to me. So if you want the easiest business beyond for sale by owner, it's past clients, and you have to have something in place.
So in other words, you would also be saying, when you say 87% they don't use the same age or whatever, they don't use the same, only 12% do, you'll be saying that the orphan business would be really cool too, where people are not going and they forget about their clients. They just bought a house, and other agents can swoop in if they have that nurture process, correct?
I literally think about this all the time. I'm like, I should just create a business where agents sell me their clients, like their deal, like after they close, like, hey, I'll just take over these clients for you. Let me deal with it.
Yeah, you know what? I think I might test that around here. Anyway, man, you know what?
Every agent would tell you that they are going to do something. So
no, they won't. No. But you see, I'm not going to ask for permission. I'm just going to ask for forgiveness later on. That's what
there
I'm
you go.
Do with this. I think that'll work. You know what? I start that Monday. Jesse, thank you so much for coming on. 2 more things. One really quick is, how can I help you grow your business?
I think you're doing it by sharing this out there. And that's it.
Awesome.
Connect me to anyone that needs to learn more about video for real estate.
I absolutely will. And I know your partner Jackson must have told you that when you come on, you get a hat, and his might be a different color, but this is the hat we got for today. We're going to be sending the hat out to you. Again, man, I want to thank you so much for being on. Just stay on for a couple of seconds after we go off. I want to just finalize everything with you. Thank you so much, everybody. Next week, we have the one and only living agent coming on. Danny Burgess is going to be here from the Porchlight Bay area. He's the team lead of that team. He is an amazing individual. He's going to talk about open houses, a lot of different things, and he is a big video guy as well. Jesse, thanks again. We're going to go out real quick. I want to thank everybody again for coming on, and we will see you all real soon.